Welcome back to episode 44 of the ATD Baseball Podcast. Kyle and I today, postseason is in the full swing of things. We just concluded a wild card series. A little disappointing with the whole week, but we'll get into that in a minute. But first, Kyle, how are you doing?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. Enjoying some baseball stress free. It's change, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, so earlier in the week I said I wasn't gonna think about it. I was just gonna try and enjoy these games. Now that the Dodgers have their divisional round opponent, thinking about it a little bit. Nervous, but I'm more excited than nervous. I think all the players, especially teams that have been off for the week, the Orioles, the Braves, the Dodgers, and the Houston Astros, they just want to go out there and play. They've been sitting around for way too damn long. I think all the cities and their fans agree that we just want to get started. So can't wait for tomorrow. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, man, for sure.
So not a crazy episode today. We're just gonna recap all the wild card rounds. Uh, did not get a game three in any of them. Little disappointed in that, but oh well. And then of course we'll preview the divisional round. We'll give our picks. Matt's not here, but he did send us ours, so we'll be sharing his picks too. Not surprised with most of them. I'm not surprised at all. But where do you want to start in the wild card?
Um, let's go with the AL first. Why not? Let's go Tampa Bay. 'Cause
Tampa
that
Bay. Okay.
kind of shocks me a little bit.
Yeah. This was one of those series where I wish I could have had the pick back
hmm
because it was between the great pitching of Tampa Bay, which if you haven't seen any Tampa Bay Rays games and you saw only the two they played earlier this week, probably not a good sample size, but they can pitch better than that. But
Okay.
and then you had this high-powered Texas Rangers offense who stumbled into the wild card round and probably shouldn't have been there. It probably should have been Houston, but didn't seem to bother them much as they took care of the Rays pretty easily, taking both games in front of an empty Tropicana field. I feel bad for the Rays fans. Kyle, take it away. I know this is your division with one of these teams.
Yeah, man. I didn't expect this at all. I expected, especially Glass now, man. I thought he was gonna go out there and shove like he normally does. Um, but for Tampa's case here, they met two very hot pitchers at the time. Jordan Montgomery took this game over and just ran with it, dude. It was nice to see Monty doing good again. I mean, obviously he spent all those years with the Yankees, so I have a soft spot for him a little bit. I love to see him do good. He's setting himself off for an amazing offseason. He's gonna get a bag for sure. Um, and then Nate Eovaldi go out there, do his thing. I mean, the Texas Rangers took care of business, and that's all there is to it. I mean, this Rays offense kind of was non-existent, but I'm gonna tell you why they lost. It's their defense. Their defense was atrocious, man. I believe I saw something where they had 5 errors. Like, that's not gonna cut it. I mean, I personally think that the defense was lost the series for them. But yeah, I mean, congrats to the Texas Rangers. They deserved it. They wanted it more. Yeah, I'm stoked to see their next series for sure.
Yeah, and you know, Rangers have gone all in pretty much the last couple seasons. They brought in Semien, they brought in Seager. Even the guys that are not even pitching, they signed a Grom, they traded for Scherzer, which I don't know if you've seen tweets and stuff. Is Scherzer gonna pitch? He's throwing pens. I thought he was shut down for the rest of the season, but this guy's out here throwing pens. I don't know. It's probably too late by now, but um, I loved from the beginning bringing in Bruce Bochy as their manager.
Yep.
I loved it. You know, 3-time world champ of the Giants, and he just brings that old manager presence. And even in the second half of the season where it seems like things were falling apart, and they were,
Hmm.
You had a big lead in division, and then all of a sudden you're scrapping for a playoff spot. And through all that, Bruce Bochy was like, "We're fine. It's gonna be okay." And again, even after they had lost out on the division on the final day of the season, when all they had to do was win a game and score runs, they said, "Fine, forget about it. We'll just go to Tampa and take care of business." So I think you saw, along with the terrible defense from Tampa, you saw offense come to life. So many Dodger fans were missing, but we're extremely happy to see Corey Seager rake this series. Now, he wasn't the star of this series, but he was able to hold his own. And if you can keep getting pitching performances out of that, Rangers are going to be good, and they could beat Baltimore. And that to me, that's a coin flip. But we'll get into it later. But huge props to the Texas Rangers. They look good, and I know it's only 2 games, and I hate to dump on them again. They did play in a half-empty stadium, but you hit it right on the head. Rangers wanted it more, and they went to Tampa and did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's couldn't have said it better.
Okay, I guess we'll move on to the other series now.
Hmm.
I know you were smiling ear to ear,
Of
and
course,
so were a lot of Yankee fans. It seems like a lot of baseball fans, you know. And if you don't know where we're going, we're going to talk about the Minnesota Twins and the Toronto Blue Jays. But before I get to that, before Kyle completely dumps on the Toronto Blue Jays, remember Minnesota did win,
yeah.
and huge props to them. Fans, if it wasn't for if Philadelphia did not have home games in their park, they were on the road or they didn't make the postseason, Minnesota would have had the best fan atmosphere in the wild card round. They were going nuts, and they were into it from every pitch. And keep in mind, these games were not starting at 6, 7 o'clock at night. These are
Mhm.
at 3 in the afternoon. So, Kyle, I know you got some things on the Jays. Go right for it.
Yeah, so before I get into that, I am going to take your route, kind of take the high road here. I am going to give huge props to the Minnesota Twins. I've written them off right away, dude. And everybody knows how much I hate the Blue Jays. So for the Twins to come in here, back to Target Field, take care of business, dude, it was such a cool sight to see. Um, I mean, it's a different feeling for me because I'm so used to the Yankees taking care of business against the Twins that I got to see the Twins win, man. I mean, it was a crazy atmosphere. Props to the Twins. I hope them all the best. I really do. I have no hard feelings against the Twins. Now I'm gonna flip to the other side. These blunders, man. I mean, that's what killed the Blue Jays. First off, Vlad, that pickoff. Come on, man. You're better
Can't
than
happen.
dude, you're better than that. And
Can't
I'm
happen.
saying that, right? Dude, you're a ball player. You're a damn good ball player. You can't be doing that. Seriously. Um, Another thing, Jose Barrios. What's up with that? What in the hell was he thinking, man? I don't get it. Why pull him? Dude, it reminded me of Blake Snell in the World Series again. That's exactly what it reminded me of. Dude, it took the momentum right away from him. They basically gave all the momentum to the Twins at that point. And then that's when I knew the series was over. Um, but I'm going to leave it off at this. Congrats to the Blue Jays and Tampa Bay Rays for getting as many playoff wins as the New York Yankees this year.
Hey.
Congrats. Come to the couch.
Yeah, I saw a lot of Yankee fans. I saw a lot of that on Twitter. They were, especially the Rays, were talking a lot of smack.
Yeah. Oh, Brandon Lau. Come on, man.
Yeah, I saw that
Yeah.
clip floating around just for their season to last another 48 hours or however long it was.
Yeah.
But um, still waiting on this movie.
I love that you said it. I loved it.
We're still waiting. And from the beginning, like in 2019, when these guys were coming up in the system, Vladdy, Bo Bichette, Kevin Biggio, all these guys, they were the fun loving story. Look at the Toronto Blue Jays. They were bad for a couple years, and now they got the sons of all these Hall of Fame players now, or very good players now on the Toronto Blue Jays. And very quickly, for the third straight year, they're they get into the playoffs and then they're out right away. That's a problem.
Yeah.
And I told you before this series started that if Toronto doesn't win this series, the sky's going to be falling.
Mm-hmm.
And the sky was officially falling the minute John Snyder took out Jose Barrios in the fourth inning, and that was your ball game.
Yep.
I don't know where the Toronto Blue Jays do from here, but clearly, whatever they think is working, it's not. It's not working. This is the third straight year that you've gone out as quickly as you got into the playoffs. And for the last couple years, and I think you're going to see a lot of experts next year, they're not going to be high on the Blue Jays, no matter how this team, unless they do something crazy in the offseason. But I think experts and I think fans have had enough of Toronto. I think they're at least I am. I'm done drinking the Toronto Kool-Aid.
Yep.
They're a wild card round team. Can never get over that hump. And obviously I got nothing with the Blue Jays. I wanted to see this core kind of win together, but it's getting old. The shtick is getting old. These guys are not performing. Vladdy Jr. What I know you hit it on. You said it earlier with the pickoff play at second. That can't happen. But can you get a base hit once in a while in a big spot? And that goes for everybody else in that lineup.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what the Blue Jays do from here. But unless let's see what happens with the Twins and let's see what happens with other these top teams who start tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Toronto's has already the most disappointing to me this playoff season. You can make an argument for the Rays,
Mm-hmm.
but last couple years some people have had Toronto winning the World Series.
Yeah.
Or at least getting to it.
I'm gonna piggyback off of here for a second because obviously this is gonna be a topic that we're gonna be talking all about in this off season once it comes up. So I'm gonna make it short and sweet here. The Blue Jays were definitely the most disappointing. The Tampa Bay Rays, dude, no matter what they have, they roll out. I mean, their front office is just too good. I mean, I expect them to be at the top of the list every single year, no matter what they do. But this Blue Jays team is different, and you hit it right there. I mean, this is not good at all. I mean, you have this core, but dude, these guys are going to be on expiring deals soon. They're going to be free agents. They're going to be looking for big money. Matt Chapman being one of them this offseason. I mean, where do you go? And there's going to be a lot of tough questions in Toronto this year for sure. This offseason is going to be a very interesting one for them.
Yeah. Just to go to the other side now, because like I said, I knew we were gonna do this. We were gonna just dump on Toronto and say what they should do, but I know we mentioned it, but again, give props to the Twins.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and I mentioned this, and I was thinking about this. Carlos Correa got a big hit in game 2 that scored first and eventually was the difference.
Mm-hmm.
If Minnesota has this crazy run to the championship series or potentially World Series, and they beat the Astros, and maybe they fall to the Orioles or the Rangers, or maybe they get to the World Series. Is Carlos Correa, I don't want to say saving his reputation. Is he becoming a likable guy again? I know that's hard to say. But I mean, but seeing him get a hit in that big spot and seeing him get hyped with the Minnesota crowd, I know a lot of us don't like the guy, but he looked pretty likable to me during this last two games against Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, I will have a better answer for you after next series because they play Houston. I think that's going to be interesting. Him going back to Houston. I don't know, man. I mean, he could turn into that. Me personally, not so much, just because of the reputation that he has with the Astros and what went down 2017, 2018, 2019 with my Yankees. So it's a little bit difficult for me. Um, but hey, we'll see. I'm gonna be rooting for him, obviously, because I want these Twins to do good, man. And if they can go into Houston and win, dude, I mean, I'm gonna be ecstatic. That's gonna be cool as hell to see. So, just to wrap it up here, I mean, we'll definitely see. But I think you have a case for that there.
Yeah, because I'm watching these games and I'm seeing, get him seeing him get the big hit, seeing him, you know, get a back pick on Vladdy Jr. I'm like, God damn it, this is a guy that you wanted a big spot here. This guy is becoming a likable dude, and I don't like it. But um, we'll get to that. I'll say what I have to say for Minnesota and Houston. Flipping to the National League. Um, we'll do Philly last. We'll do Philly last.
All right.
Arizona, Milwaukee. Now, we put out a graphic the other day of the best series and the best uniforms and all that stuff. It was hard to pick best series because all these four series ended in sweeps, but I was watching every pitch of Arizona Milwaukee because, my Dodgers get the winner of this. Pretty entertaining. I know the score probably wouldn't say that. If you just looked at the score, you would see how's that a good game, but huge, shout out to the Arizona Diamondbacks. I'll give them props. And I felt comfortable, and I'm so glad that I know you picked the Diamondbacks to win that series. I don't know if Matt did, but you know, I'm so glad that I was on the right side of that
Mm-hmm.
because I knew how good this Diamondbacks team was. Even if Woodruff was able to pitch in this series, and who knows, maybe that's the difference. But they got to Corbin Burns pretty good, and they were hitting their good pitching the last two nights. And and the thing that scares me about this upcoming series, they were down 3-0 in game one, and they were down 2-0 in game two, and they came back and won both games. And it seems like they weren't breaking a sweat. It seems like, all right, like we're down a couple runs, no big deal. But before the Brewers, just huge shout out to the Arizona Diamondbacks. They look good in these two games.
Yeah, no, they did for sure. And I was also on this side. I picked the Diamondbacks to win. There were two teams going into this postseason that I was not high on. One of them was the Milwaukee Brewers, and the other was the Minnesota Twins. This does not shock me at all. I mean, Corbin Carroll, man, he is solidifying himself as an actual stud in this league and not just, some top rookie, that kind of hype. He's buying into this Arizona youth movement, and it's looking good, dude. And you hit it right on the head when you said about Corbin Burns. Dude, if you can get to Corbin Burns, you can get to anybody. And that's kind of scary. I mean, it's such a cool thing to see this Diamondbacks team actually winning postseason games. I mean, they've come such a far way. They kind of remind me of the O's, man. You know, years of terrible play and then getting some top draft picks, making the right moves in the offseason. I think this team has a chance to have one hell of a future. Future this season, we'll get to that, but like I said, we'll go over all that. But yeah, no, this team looks good, man, and I'm excited for it. I'm here for it.
Yeah. Now to the other side. Huge disappointment for the Milwaukee Brewers. You
Mm-hmm.
won your division. Now, granted, it was a very crappy division, but look at what the Minnesota Twins just did. They were in a crappy division. They basically had the division handed to them in the middle of August, September, and they were able to take out, you know, a top, the team that was literally in a gauntlet of an American League East and the Blue Jays. Uh, to me, there's no excuses. You had the two games at home. It didn't look like it, but you did kind of have the better pitching. I understand Brandon Woodruff is a huge loss, and I'm not saying it isn't. Um, couldn't hold leads and they couldn't get any more runs. Uh, there was this crazy stat, and I wish I have it, but it was something like since like the 2018 NLCS, they've had like 117 guys on base in the playoffs, and I think only they've gotten only like 20 of them in, I think, or something crazy like that. Something crazy like that. But um huge disappointment. Uh I didn't know who I really because in the playoffs we always have these teams. Oh, I'd rather play this team than the other team. This was kind of weird for me because as the series was going into the series, I was like, you know what? I much rather play the Diamondbacks than the Brewers. I don't like their pitching, and these some of these guys in their lineup can go off. Carlos Santana can go off, Christian Yelich can go off, Willie Adames can go off. And then as the series began, I was like, I don't want to play the Diamondbacks. I want the Brewers now. But by that time, it was too damn late. Corbin Burns, Ketel Marte hitting home runs and being very productive on the base pads. Um, yeah, huge shout out to the manager too, Torey Lovello. He was the manager. This is his seventh season as manager of the Diamondbacks, and he was still the manager the last time they made the playoffs in 2017 when they beat the Rockies in the wild card game and they got swept by the Dodgers when they had JD Martinez, uh, Paul Goldschmidt, they had Zach Greinke, they had some dudes on that team. AJ Pollock, that was another one. So through all this rebuild and through everything they had, the Diamondbacks had to go through, I know Torey Lovello was the happiest guy in the world Wednesday night celebrating because he went through the growing pains of having a good team, and then tearing it down and starting over. And through all this, they didn't fire him. They said, you know what? He's still a good guy. He's still a good manager. We know this is going to get fixed. We know we're not supposed to win right now, and it's paying off. So good for them. Really good for them.
Mhm.
Now to the last series. I think I was wrong on that.
Me
I could
too.
say it. Oh yeah,
Me too.
yeah. And I thought Matt was a little bit too cocky coming to this series. I
I
was
agree.
like we were all confident that the Phillies were going to be the Marlins,
Yeah.
but it was like it's not. We didn't think it was going to be as comfortable as Matt thought it was. Complete opposite. Game two was over. The series was over like in the fourth inning,
Yeah.
and then Bryson Stott hit the grand slam, and now it's really over. But uh, really not much to say about the Phillies. They're a really good team. And when you got Nola and when you got Aaron Nola and Wheeler dealing like that, they're gonna be a huge problem. If they can continue to get that, and the bats are, Kyle Schwarber, these guys are gonna show up and these guys are gonna get hits. This Phillies team is really scary. And huge shout out to them for not playing around with their food
Hmm.
and not letting the Marlins have any shot. Kyle, you got anything on this series?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I mean, you hit everything pretty well there. Yeah, Phillies, I don't know, man. I mean, they look good. This offense they just need to keep hitting. That's what it really comes down to. I mean, Wheeler and Nola, you can piggyback off them all you want. I mean, they're gonna deal. Now, obviously, we'll get into this when it comes, but um, you know, the pitching has some question marks, in my opinion, at least. But there's no stopping this offense when they're on. They just got to keep going, man. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. They've done it. They did it last year. I mean, they shocked the world last year. They could do it again this year. We'll see.
Yeah, and huge disappointment for the Marlins.
Yeah, that was
I thought they were gonna at least get a game.
me too. Yeah,
Game
that's
one was kind
pathetic.
of interesting, even though it wasn't.
Yeah.
But huge disappointment. A lot of people were waiting to dump on Jazz Chisholm,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw a lot of that Wednesday night. But
Yeah. Dude, he didn't even get a hit.
no, yeah, a lot of these guys, and just Josh Bell, Luis Ariz. What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Saying stuff during the pregame. My family will be in Atlanta when we beat the Phillies, and I'll be happy when we get this win tonight. It's like, what are you doing?
That's how I knew the series was over, dude. Dude, the moment I believe Luis Ariz was the first one to say something. Um, Once he did, I was like, dude, why are you talking? Like, if it wasn't for the Cubs' downfall, you wouldn't be here, man. So just calm down a little bit here.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you mentioned the Cubs. They would have put up a better fight
100%.
than the Marlins did. And I know, maybe Major League Baseball was not, they were okay with the Marlins getting in, but I think after what they showed, I think they would have much rather had the Cubs. And like you said, we it looked like it was gonna be Cubs Phillies up until the last week of the season, and then the Cubs completely fell apart. But I know there's probably a lot of sad Cub fans and a lot of players that were like, "Damn,
Yep.
we could have at least put up a better fight. They might have still lost two straight, and their season would have been over. But I don't think it would have been crazy blowouts like that."
No, definitely not.
And I know we're gonna see more of this. But shout out to the Philly fans. You
Mm.
guys going crazy, crazy. I just I saw a lot of that on Twitter too. Best atmosphere in sports right now, and not wrong.
Yeah. No, I mean, dude, if those games are in Philly, you better have your A game. That's what it comes down to.
Absolutely. And now we're gonna get into the divisional round previews. We'll start off in the American League. We'll do Texas, Baltimore first. Um, we just mentioned talking about the Texas Rangers, and they're good, and they're very high-powered offense that flex its muscles in Tampa. They're going up against the Baltimore Orioles, champions of the American League East, which I think that was a surprise to some people saying that this year. Uh, I don't know how this is gonna go for Baltimore. I don't know. After what I saw in what Texas did, I don't know. I know they're the number one seed and they have the bye in the home field. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rangers won this series. Kyle, what do you think?
Yeah, so I it's interesting. It is a very interesting series to go off of. Um, but in my heart of hearts, and not just because I'm a Yankee fan, I think Texas pulls it out, man. I really do. I'm gonna say Texas in five.
Okay.
I think they run into Baltimore, and this offense is hot right now, man. They look good. The only thing that's going to get in the way, I believe, is their pitching. Their pitching needs to show up 100%. Every guy who goes out there needs to absolutely have their A game because this Baltimore lineup is no joke. I mean, they showed it time and time again all year long. But on the Baltimore side of things, I think they're just too inexperienced. I think that's what it comes down to. And I don't like their pitching depth. I really don't. I mean, I'm sorry, but as of right now, I mean, Kyle Gibson is your 2 or 3 starter. That's kind of shaky, man. I mean, you are really relying on this lineup. So I think I mean, these comes down to inexperience. I think the O's are going to be great for years to come, and I'm excited for it. But right now, I think it's just a little too early, premature. So for that reason, I'm going Texas in five.
Matt has Texas in five too.
Wow.
He
Okay.
has
I,
he
I
has
did
Texas in
I did
five
not
too.
I did not look at our group chat before we started recording, so I didn't know what Matt picked. That's kind of shocking to me. Very shocking, actually.
Because you guys took Texas, I'm gonna go the other way, and I don't feel good about it.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Baltimore in five.
All right.
I'm gonna go Baltimore in five. You just hit on it. This pitching, and we're gonna learn very quickly with this Orioles lineup, Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rushman. We're gonna learn very quickly if the lights are too bright.
Yeah.
We're gonna learn very quickly because, like you mentioned, this is their first year in the playoffs in quite some time, and yeah, they're gonna be really good for years to come. But maybe this is the first stepping stone of a
Exactly.
very successful run. You got
Exactly.
to go through the bumps and bruises of playing in the playoffs. I know the city of Baltimore is ecstatic right now that they got in because I think we all thought Baltimore was maybe a year or two away. We knew that they were going to be good very soon. We just didn't think in 2023. So I will give them the benefit of the doubt because of the number one seed, because they have the home field advantage. Baltimore is going to be fired up. Their crowd will get behind them, and I think they're going to be right at home. I'm going to go Orioles in 5 just because they have the home field advantage. I say that with caution, though.
Yeah.
And we're going to learn very quickly if the lights are too bright for some of these kids in Baltimore.
Yeah. No, I mean you hit it right there, man. I totally agree with you.
Next series. Now, this has a potential to be maybe the second best series out of all 4.
Yeah.
Astros and Twins. Just mentioned it before. Twins beating the Blue Jays. The wild card series, Houston played their asses off in the final week of the season to get a bye, and they deserved it. I think they would have been in big trouble if they literally put all their chips on the table in the final week just to play a wild card series. Does the Minnesota Cinderella story continue? Kyle, you you want to go for it?
Yeah. Sadly, I think it ends here. It's the Astros, man. That's really all I got, to be honest with you. I can't really give you an in-depth answer on this just because I mean, Houston has not been the Astros that we have all known and hate this season. They really haven't. They've had a lot of bumps and bruises along the way. And if it wasn't for Texas bullpen and the rest of their pitching kind of taking a shit at the end of the year, this could be a totally different story. But guess what? It's not. They got the bye. They deserve it. And I think they take care of business. I'm going Houston in 4. Let's go Houston in 4.
Matt has Houston in 5.
Okay.
Minnesota's not going to get swept.
No.
They're not going to get swept. They're a good team. They'll get a game. I'm with you. I have the Astros in 4. I will warn Houston though, and people are probably going to think I'm an idiot. Because they've gone into hostile places and won.
Yeah.
They've gone to New York. They've gone to I guess you can throw LA in there, I guess. They've won in Philly. They've won trying to think of where else they've won. They've won in Boston in this run. They've won in hostile places. Don't go back to Minnesota 1-1. Don't go back to Minnesota 1-1.
No, man. I think that's a completely fair statement. I mean, the Minnesota crowd showed us what they're all about this year, man. I'm with you on that. I think things can get a little shaky if it does go back to Minnesota 1-1.
Especially if Minnesota gets that second game.
Exactly.
Don't go back to Minnesota 1-1. The Astros are better, and they're going to win the series. But we'll see. You never know. Correa can easily go off, and he can, along with Royce Lewis, which we forgot to mention that he basically went off against Toronto.
Yeah.
It's not impossible that the Twins can win this series, but they do have to play almost perfect to win. And you gotta win in Houston. So Astros in 4. Moving on to the National League. We'll do Dodgers first. I am a Dodger fan, obviously, and I wish we could do them last, but Philly and Atlanta is a better series. I'm not stupid. Not stupid. And this we'll get to that, but Philly and Atlanta is the one series that everybody's gonna watch. I know that. I'm not stupid. So Dodgers Diamondbacks. Oh boy. Um, I'm nervous. I'm nervous. I mentioned this. I put this on my story a couple days ago. Dodgers are playing a team that is coming in feeling really good about themselves, and they're a division rival. What can go wrong? Just look at what happened with San Diego last year. Very similar. You can make an argument that the Brewers were the favorites. Some people. I think most people were picking Arizona. But to me, two similar things. Padres went to New York and took down the Mets. Diamondbacks went to Milwaukee, took down the Brewers. And they're coming into Dodger Stadium feeling really good about themselves, as they should. Yes, the Dodgers are the better team. Lineup, I think most people would say Arizona has the better starting pitching. I'm nervous. I don't know how this is going to go. I have Dodgers in 4, but I really wouldn't be surprised if this goes the distance. Would not be surprised at all if this goes to 5. But I'm begging for the Dodgers. Can we score? Can we get some hits with runners in scoring position, please? Because that was the big problem last year and why they lost to the San Diego Padres. They didn't lose because they had horrible pitching and guys couldn't get outs. That wasn't the problem. They're hitting. Their lineup could not get a big hit to save their damn life. And the Padres got a couple more big hits than them, and that was the difference in the series. Don't do that again. And I don't think they will. I think the Dodgers win this series in 4, but like I just said, I wouldn't be surprised if this goes the distance. And I'll be shitting bricks for the next week.
Yeah, so I was very interested to hear your take on this. Just
Don't
obviously
say it.
you're a Dodger fan. Um,
Don't say it.
and in the last couple weeks, Matt and I have not been agreeing with you on this of your nervousness. I think the Dodgers take care of business, man. Dodgers in 4. I think Clayton Kershaw, Bobby Miller go out there. They do their thing in Los Angeles. I think they go back to Arizona. They lose the first game in Arizona, but then they take care of business in game 4. I think this Dodgers team is just good, man. I think they're much better than the Diamondbacks, and they're going to prove it. I personally, if I was a Dodger fan, I'd be a little nervous just because that's my team, So I understand where you're coming from. I totally do. But I think this is different from what the Padres were last year. The Padres got some big names. They got guys. That's the thing we've been talking about on here. The Diamondbacks, yes, they do. They got Corbin Carroll. Lane Thomas has been looking good. Christian Walker, all these guys. But when it comes down to it, it's the Dodgers, man. I think the Dodgers take care of business in 4.
Game ones are always must wins.
Mm-hmm.
Don't lose tomorrow, please. Because we got to come back to Dodger Stadium down 0-1 on Monday. Oh my God. Every single fan is going to be so tight. Dodgers are going to be so tight. Please win Saturday. Please win tomorrow night. And we can come in to game 2. Okay, we're still tense, but all right, we have a 1-0 lead at the end of the day. Don't lose the first game. And I swear to God, Dave Roberts, if you make a stupid decision again, we're going to have a serious problem and a serious conversation. I'm not joking. I don't know how many more years I can take of this. Dodgers, please win this series. Moving on to the best series on paper. Let's see how it goes. For all we know, Phillies or Braves are going to sweep, and this is going to be a big disappointment. But this is the best division series out of the 4.
Yeah.
Because of the names, because of the 2 cities, because they're division rivals, and I guess you can throw the mascots in there too. Before I make a prediction, I don't obviously have all the division series matchups in front of me, but just on paper, is this not one of the best division series we've had in a long time? Going into it, just from all the names, from all the pitching, the two cities, is to me, this is one of the best. This is like the dream division series you can ask for.
Yeah, no, I mean I'm with you, man. I mean, last year was a little bit different. I mean, last year we knew it was going to be a pretty damn good series, but we keep saying it over and over again. The Phillies had no expectations last year. I mean, I didn't even have them coming out of the wild card round against St. Louis. So this year it's much different. They got expectations. There's a little bit of chatter between both these teams. I mean, I think it's going to be one hell of a matchup.
Yeah. I really, and before I give my pick, of course, Matt, in case you didn't know, he is a Phillies fan. He said Phillies in five. He's a Phillies fan. Of course, he's going to represent his team. No problem there. I think the Braves win this series in five. To me, this is a coin flip. I wouldn't be shocked if either team won. Um, as a Dodger fan, I hope we take care of our business and we can watch the Braves and Phillies kill each other for a couple nights because I want to relax at home waiting for one of these two powerhouses to slug it out. I'm going Braves in five. I mentioned this. I've mentioned this to you guys off podcast, and I've mentioned this to other people. Last year in the National League was the year of the upset.
Mm-hmm.
Padres upset the Mets. Phillies upset the Cardinals. Padres upset the Dodgers. Phillies upset the Braves. You don't always get that every year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this year, the top two seeds in the National League are going to show why they were the top two seeds in the National League. I want the Phillies to win for Matt, but I got Braves in five. It's going to be one hell of a series.
Yeah, I mean you hit it, man. I mean, these two teams are amazing. I mean, there's really no other way to put it. But this Braves team is one of the best teams we have seen in recent history. I mean, we talk about them all year long. We've been talking about them. This lineup, right? This lineup is one of the best we've seen. I mean, you got a 9-hole hitting 300 this year. I mean, it's scary, very, very scary. And I think the Braves, yes, they've had some injuries on the pitching side of things, but dude, they're still loaded. This team is still a very, very good team. And for the reason of Philadelphia having to play the wild card series, you're not getting Wheeler game one. I feel like that is a huge piece. If I'm not mistaken, I think Ranger Suarez is starting game one up against Spencer Strider. Yep. So for that reason, I'm going Braves in five as well. But like you said, this series can go either way. But I think this Atlanta team is just too good to bet against, especially, coming off the bye. I mean, this team is rested. They're getting home field advantage, which I think is absolutely critical in this series because the Braves, I'm not saying they need to win the first two games in Atlanta, but I'm going to tell you one thing. Going back to Philly with a 2-0 lead versus a 1-1 series tie is going to make you feel a whole lot more comfortable about your team and what you can accomplish. So, I mean, you got Strider on the bump going up against their third starter. I got to go Braves here. I can't bet against them. Now, at the end of this series, if the Braves do win, I could have a totally different mindset about betting against them just because of how they play against Philadelphia. I think that's going to be critical to me as for who I pick as the later picks come on. So for me, it's Braves in five.
There's pressure on the Braves this year.
Yeah.
They were the best team all year long. They have the MVP in Ronald Acuna. You better win game one tomorrow.
Yep.
Because if you lose tomorrow, there's that sense of doubt again, and it maybe not in Atlanta with the fans, but in that dugout, there's gonna be like, oh boy, here we go again.
Yep.
Here we go again. We're gonna have to go back to Philly with a tie, and
Mm.
you might not, and you might come home, but your season might be over.
Yep.
Braves have to get game one. Have to.
Yeah.
Don't give this Philly team that's feeling good about themselves any more hope, any more swagger than they already have.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's more expectations this year, but they're still playing with house money.
Hmm.
They're still gonna come in there with their balls on the table. It's like, hey, we just destroyed the Marlins and we just beat you last year.
Yep.
All we have to do is take one here, and you might not come back. So this is gonna be one hell of a series, and I can't wait to watch.
Yeah, no, I mean, just piggybacking off of what you said, I mean, I think if Atlanta does not win game one, that sense of doubt's going to go into play. And I think just going back to Philadelphia, I mean, you might not even get back to Atlanta. I mean, that's a huge, huge deal. I mean, dude, there's no reason why this Braves team should not beat the Phillies. I'm sorry, but there's not. This team has been the greatest team all season long. You got to take care of business. And I kind of think game one is going to set the tone. You need to knock the Phillies off their high horse, knock them back to reality, and say, look, we're the Atlanta Braves. You ain't getting past us. That's what you got to do in game one. If you don't, I don't know, man. My pick could be wrong then.
After what I heard from Braves fans yesterday, I hope my pick is wrong. But I want to get these right, and I do think the Braves are a better team.
Yeah, 100%.
But good luck to Matt. Kyle, you got anything else before we get out of here?
No, I don't think so. I think we covered everything.
All right then. That's it for episode 44. And we'll be back next week, and I might be pissed off when you hear me again. I'm either gonna be in a really good mood or I'm gonna be really pissed off.
Yep.
When we do record, the season will not be over yet, but Dodgers either gonna be in a hole and they're gonna have a comfortable lead.
Yep.
We'll see what happens. But until then, enjoy the postseason games, especially if your team's not in it. Enjoy it. We only got a couple more weeks of the baseball season. And if you are going to any of these games, have fun.
Yep.
Every year is not guaranteed. All right.
Perfect.
We'll see you next week. Adios.
Later.